Hey, it's Craig with ProLike here, and I'm going to do something a little bit different today and try and do my first how-to video. I've been playing around with welded seam construction. An industry insider and I were talking, and she was telling me how the major manufacturing plants are retooling all of their sewing machines and converting everything over to, not everything, but the bulk of things over to sew-and-free construction. So that'd be your welded seam or your bonded seam, glued seam construction. And so we were talking about the benefits of that. It's lighter weight, it's stronger, it's more flexible, and you don't have to seam seal any of the seams to get them to be water resistant because they're a glued or a welded seam. So there's three types of tools that they use to do this, or three techniques. The first is a ultrasonic seam, and that's used mostly on plastics. Like if you get the plastic clamshell around your electronics devices that you have to fight with to get open, that's typically welded using an ultrasonic pulse. They also use that in inflatable sleeping pads. Anything that has a polyurethane coating, you generate an ultrasonic frequency, and that gets transmitted through a horn, and that creates the temperature to fuse those two pieces of material together. Another technique is using a hot air device, and I'll try and find some video clips to show you of each of these so you know what I'm talking about. And that's simply where you're blowing hot air onto the fabric and onto your glue material or your bonding material, and then following that up with typically a roller to generate the pressure needed to get a good seam. The third approach is to use what's called a hot wedge, and that's what I'm going to show you today. And you know, the machines that do this are very, very expensive, so I've been trying to play around with different ways to do it at home and on a budget. I did pull some connections to get a supplier in the industry to send me some of the materials used by Bemis, or Bemis, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, and that seems to be the largest supplier, or the best known supplier of the different types of adhesive that are used to weld these seams. And I've played around with that, along with just some solutions that I found at our local sewing center here in Bozeman. And I've bonded some 1000 denier Cordura, different types of Ripstop Nylon, and you probably can't see this on the video camera, but I've labeled each one of these so I can put them through some tests to test the strength of these, etc. And I also tested using a real fine netting material that would be used for like a box wall baffle in a down sleeping bag or down jacket, down quilt, etc. And you can see that the nice thing about welded seam or sew-and-free construction is just how clean everything is when you get done with it. And if you do it like I did on this one, where I let the adhesive run out over the edge of the material, you don't even need to like use a hot knife to cut your material, because it glues down the edges so you don't get the fraying that you get if you don't do that on a Ripstop Nylon. So I've played around with the different adhesives from Bemis, and the two I liked the best were the 3412 and the 3415. But those are a little difficult to work with if you don't have a machine that's designed to use those. What I like the best from just the sewing center is a product called Easy Steam 2. The company name is Pellin. Hold that up so you can see it on camera. And what you get is two little rolls in there, and this is like double-sided tape. So when you're creating your different seams, and I've played around with, you know, making different size seams, or you know, different seams like a French seam, etc., where you're you know, folding the seam over, welding it, then folding it over again and welding it. And I found that while that works, I prefer just a real clean overlap, and then let the glue expand across the side so it really seals down that edge so you don't catch it with a fingernail or anything. I also played around with a product from Dritz called Stitch Witchery fusible bonding tape, and I got it in white and in black. And where I liked this material, this is a little bit wider material here, wider adhesive. I liked that for when I was using my netting for a box wall. Hold that up so you can see it. It just did a really good job at adhering that down. And you know, this is strong. The seams are strong. Shear strength isn't as great as tear strength. So, you know, when I progress to maybe using this in a product, I have some product ideas I want to make for myself. I may still stitch on occasion a seam just to get that increased shear strength. But it's working well for me so far. I'll talk about some different ways you can do this at home. The first, of course, is just to use an iron. And you can see here I've completely destroyed my wife's iron by playing around with it. The holes in the bottom of an iron are going to give you problems. So if you're just using the side, it will work fine. I found a little device on the internet. Let's see, here's the box. They call it a custom sealing iron, and I've been playing around with that. It allows me to control the temperature. It's a smaller shape. It allows me to get into corners a little bit better. This right here is pretty flimsy, so I take a metal block and use that to press down on the top of this to get a really good bond. This was only like $20. And then the final thing I used was this is a heat press for thermal transfers or for self-adhesive patches. This one is set up for putting patches onto hats. And I don't know if you can see this on the camera or not, but it allows me to digitally control the temperature and the time. In the industry, they talk about your protocols, and your protocols being heat, duration, and temperature. And they want to precisely control those to get consistent output. For quality control. You know, if you're doing this as a commercial business, you're going to want consistent outcomes, and so you really need to have highly controllable variables in terms of temperature, duration, and pressure. If you're doing it for yourself, I found it isn't as important. I like this device the best of the different approaches I've played with because it does allow me to get a consistent pressure, a consistent time, and a consistent temperature. I'm going to show you how this works really quick. I've set up just two pieces of leftover Ripstop Nylon that I have, and I cut a piece of my Pellin Easy Steam 2 tape, and just so I didn't have to try and do this on camera, I adhered it to one side and got it started, so all I have to do is pull off the backing. And this is what I like about this material, because you know, it sticks to the, or this adhesive, it sticks to the material you're wanting to work with, so it's much easier to work with than the Bemis products where they're not adhesive, and so you have to try and hold it in place, hold your seam where you want to go, and then once you get everything lined up, hopefully weld it. So, and I'm working in really cramped conditions here just so I can get this all on camera. Normally I do this on a layout table. So there I've just adhered the two of those. If you're going to use a iron or like this custom sealing iron, you're going to want to get some Teflon sheets. You can buy these at a sewing center. I think they're $10 for, I don't know, maybe like 20 of them or something. You can use them over and over again. And that's just to keep your iron from melting the material. And you'll have to play around with the temperature. I think I was using a fairly high temperature, it looks like. On this machine, I'm going to go with 275 degrees for 14 seconds. And I've got the tape on there, so go ahead and just push this down and start my timer. And while that's working, maybe I'll show some videos of some of the different manufacturing facilities, how they're welding seams. So that's done. I'll pull it out, and you can see I got a really good, very clean seam out of this. I need to let it cool down for a minute or two before I pull on it real hard, but we've been testing the strength of this, and it's really, really strong. The other thing I like about this, I haven't given this long-term field test on anything, but what I do like about this is even if one of these welded or bonded or glued seams were to fail, it'd be very easy to repair, and you wouldn't even know that it was repaired. So that's where I'm at with learning about welded seam constructions. The people in the industry are saying that it's going to dominate the industry, and that really sewing is probably going to become a thing of the past. I know in footwear they're starting to use more and more welded seam construction versus sewn construction. So if you like these type of videos, let us know, and I'll try and come up with more of them. You know, I'm not an expert in this side of things. I'm just kind of exploring and playing around with different ideas. So if you have questions, feel free to ask me in the comments section, and I'll try and answer them the best I can. Thanks for watching.